George. Paul George, the Clippers lead!
Fearless. Here's Paul George now back in the game at the 7:32 mark. He goes to work in the paint, fakes a pass, spins, corkscrews, and hits a fadeaway jumper.
Kept the set. The Blazers. One mid-range field goal in the first two.
Another steal by George, off to the races with the defense in his rear view. Cocks it back and throws it down.
And that's the healthy Paul George.
George drives Green right with him. George falls down, throws it up, and it goes in. How about that circus shot? Falling down, and the soft bounce off the rim.
7 for either team, and it was by the Clippers. Another turnover. That's 12 in the first half. 2-on-1. George, the lob, and Kawhi Leonard. Dunk for Leonard. The largest lead for the Clippers.
George to the rim, whistle, count the basket, and send him to the line for the old-fashioned three-point play.
I would say the ABA days when he was coaching the Kentucky Spurs, we see PG stick the arm in, the steal, and the emphasis at the end.
Who knew he was Dutch? The windmill.
A chance to go back in front, 3 minutes to play in the third. George, the cross on Smith, takes it in, corkscrews for 2. 83-82 LA. Thomas.
And the lead now swells, 77-69. George down the lane, hangs and hits. What a play by Paul.
Clippers forced the 7th turnover for the Raptors.
Lob to PG. Oh, a bird's eye view with the flush.
Who's better than James Harden?
Pressure. It's Jackson, Jokic, Caldwell Pope with a steal by Leonard, picked up by George in the paint to the rack, and he got it.
Dokas Abuke getting ready to check in here. Here is George at the free throw line, extended pull up, looking for the bounce, and he will get it. Friendly rim.
He's still only 25 in his fifth season. Break it off,
no.
and the foul.
Oh, no.
That's not fair either.
Hold up. Paul George broke it on.
Fontecchio hasn't had much of a chance against Leonard tonight. Off to George in the corner. He got it. Timeout, Utah.
Healthy. There's been a lot of potential for him. He showed it out last year to close the season. Got rewarded. Throws it away right there. Zoo, look out below. And the Clippers off to the races and another timeout.
11-4 start. Clippers have hit 5 of 10 shots, and now the 5th turnover.
Throws it down. Timeout, Portland.
The offensive rebounds and the putbacks are plentiful.
George, the runway is clear. Cocks it back and punches it in. And now Paul. He's got 28 for the Cavaliers. He gets downhill. He gets to the rim. Blocked by George. What hasn't he done tonight?
Timeout. 4:25 to play. George.
Oh, my goodness! A swiveling Skywalker. George with the flush.
To George, you can tell the energy has picked up. Here comes George the other way.
Lob to Leonard. Look out below. Kawhi Leonard puts the Clipper
Corner.
right into the hands. Paul George, make us proud. Oh, he cocks it back. Clippers by 3.
Take a sizable lead here into the 4th. Tomorrow night, George, step back 3.
It's back for George. What a shot. 88-69.
Despite the Clippers being down by 1. Plenty of time here for now Norman Powell. Can George beat the buzzer?
Got it! Paul George.
7 to shoot for George. 3 to shoot. Gets down. Lets it fly for the lead.
Hot damn! Clippers lead by 2.
Brooke, the Clippers looking to push. The shot clock is dark. They're down by 2. George wants it all. The 3! Oh, my God! Push the Clippers out in front.
15 years ago, George leaps to grab the pass, but it's late in the clock. He steamrolls.
Schroeder goes to the rack with the punch. Wow!
I admire.
Coming off a 17-point game, his high game as a Spur this season. George jiggles in a 3.
Knowing that the defense by the Clips wasn't set, able to drop it into Leonard for easy 2.
George, strong drive, back to the basket, lays it up and in. 21 for Paul George.
Get inside.
AI's got to get out of the way. Paul George rocks the rim.
For George, picked up by Allen. 2 to shoot, gonna be a tough one. A 3. Oh, it's good!
Kawhi, a pump fake. Paul George lines up the 3 and hits, and the Clippers go up.
Figure this thing out and kind of get some stabilization.
George on the wing for 3. 4 on the 24. Paul George from long distance.
The bucket here would cut the lead to 4. How about they cut it to 3? Working on a 60-point half. Deep 2, just inside the 3-point arc.
George around Brock. George given space for a moment. That's all he needs. He rips the. Hayward gives chase, but after Paul George releases, that's his 3rd 3. Early to start thawing your turkey.
No,
or is it?
I heard. I heard it.
Known as a defender, James Harden did a great job.
Making this motion to me. Then he realized that, don't forget about me. I'm actually the.
Quickly doubled in that corner. Shot clock at 6. 7-2 run here by the Clippers.
On the floor once, and then be able to make a play off the dribble at his side.
George gets Oubre Jr. in his back pocket, leaps and leads.
Rotation to Coffee. Back out for George. It's now time. George for 3.
Of the season against the Knicks the other day. George a step away.
It's good. The first bucket for Paul George.
Oh, why did 30th? It was called Beggar's Night.
Yeah, it was Beggar's Night.
Weird step.
Paul George.
Of course it's going to 7 points. Clippers are down by 6. George, can he do it again? Yes, sir!
Kawhi to Paul George. George in traffic, drives inside.
PG checks the rear view. Long strides, chops his steps into the lane. The 1-2, count it, and the foul.
This is short. Zubac behind the back to George. It's good and the foul.
Zubac, folks. A 1-point lead.
Here come the Clippers. George muscling in on Highsmith and the foul.
Paul George was trying to get that ball.
Here is George as he
Try to just to redeem how they've been playing of late.
won and a long time to go against a very confident Sacramento team. George down the lane. A double for Leonard. He seeks the open player. It's Paul George down the lane. Down the hatch. Count it up.
Into Clipper run. Making it now, approaching 6 to play. Oh,
That's actually a pass to Tucker. Hands to George for the corner 3. It's good one way.
Able to get you to help. You help off of him, then he makes the assist to a teammate.
Oh, Paul George with a screen from Patterson. Flings a 3, and it is all systems.
Knock that one in.
Paul George. Doing his
The 7 minutes he played, he had 11 points. Crosses over Jeff Green, rumbles down the lane, hangs and hits again. 13 for George.
remember, he was
Far tonight. Go to Pelicans.com/tickets. Pelicans.com/tickets. We'll see you here. Mid-range. George, too good a look.
It's tough because they're in drop coverage on Paul George.
It's a 4-point lead for the Spurs. George, reorganizing in mid.
But he hasn't been on the floor in a game since the 22nd of December. How about that?
lead last week in Philadelphia. Would love to get it back here. George for 3. It's good.
And he'll just go into it with the utmost confidence.
12-4 Sacramento run. George. Look.
7 on the shot clock. George goes in the corner, falling away. Oh, it's good. Paul.
21 minutes Sunday against the Jazz. Here's Paul George, man.
Gallinari, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton.
Scored. Loose ball up for grabs, goes to Westbrook, but the Clippers don't have a ton of time. Into George, counted out. From distance. George from the wing to the lane to the counted out a foul.
And there was a lot of blood. It was a scary moment. Powell was able to recover.
Wow, what a pass. Leonard all the way across the court.
George has been busy in this second quarter. Oh, and he continues
to be busy. George.
But they got enough talent, they can win a series.
George goes inside and pounds it down.
Davion on the floor for defensive purposes. Here's Paul George getting to the strong hand.
Good ball movement all the way around the horn. Edwards. Westbrook up ahead. George running the floor. Two-handed jam.
Terrence Mann on the deck. And Nick Batum in the corner. George stroll. Paul George. Head down, shoulders leaning. Right to the cup for the two.
11 on threes for the Mavs today after Finney Smith missed that three. Paul George connected, and so the
15-point game. Paul George, the hot hand, and it continues.
The Wizards look like they're in that matchup 2-3 zone right now.
It's Paul George getting to the
And George and Caldwell Pope will defend. Shot clock at 5. Paul George.
What a shot.
He's got to
create opportunities there, and that's what's happening.
Boy, George surrounded by 3 defenders.
Turnover in this quarter. Value in the basketball, getting some good shots at the rim.
George fields it. He in that first quarter with 14 points. George, giant steps down the side of the alley, and he laid.
Break, because like you said earlier, he was playing great basketball at the beginning of the season.
Having a career year and part of the prolific pick and roll tandem with.
Rebound goes to Kawhi Leonard. Down 7. Here comes Harden. George, quick move to the basket. Takes it to the house and lays it in.
Anyway, I'm not going to put this guy in position to get hurt moving forward.
They still got another all-star out there in Paul George. Batum got it.
Drives on McDermott, stops on a dime. He's the mid-range. And in a related note, into a dome on time to open.
Solid season after coming back from that shoulder injury last year.
Wow, contested 3. Williams. On far side to George. Late on the clock. Step away 3. Wow. Paul George knocks.
Chasing the basketball, 2 on it, able to turn the corner. As Paul George.
George trying to show off the handles, can't get around Giddey. He gets to the free throw line and
points. Isaiah has 11, Brown has 9. Here's George for 3 again.
A few years, and they're trying to whittle it down now. They were down by 18 at the break and trailed by 20. George. Tough shot.
PJ Tucker with it. Out on top to George, measures the 3.
But also USA Basketball. So the mindset and understanding.
The Clippers have the ball. George driving past Bam. Paul George for game.
and just 65% today, not going to get it done, and then the Clipper lead.
5th turnover for Minnesota. Paul George just gave the Clippers the lead.
Very much. James Harden gives to George, attacking down the lane, pops from 10 and not without the mask. George looking to draw foul, drills it.
Had a fairly easy schedule against teams that are struggling. That's not going to be the case. Deflection, interception, make us proud. Oh, cocks it back and flushes it in.
George for 3. It goes, his first. George tries to play a two-man game. Zoo calls his own number.
He knows what we're emphasizing, so it hasn't been too big of a challenge. Now, in 3 games since his return, the average
3-point line. Clippers creeping back into it. George from the line to the lane to the rim. Oh, takes it to the house and makes a little noise.
The fact that they got a defensive stop and an attack in transition creates a good look in Paul George.
3 to shoot for George for the lead. He put it in! 18 for...
Lead at the half. George.
With the pretzels there in Philadelphia. Oh, awesome. Absolutely next level. George, bump going up.
Halftime report with the Hall of Fame foursome of E.J. Kenny, Chunk and Shaq. 3, George, book it. Nice shot, another good stroke.
Clippers looking for the lead. George puts it up out the window. It's good. Are you kidding me? Paul George with 20. And a running rebound. George with Thibault to beat. Bounces to the rim. Dangles on the rim. And the Clippers are out in front 86.
George shot blocked by Doncic. George gets it back, goes inside, layup, he banks it home.
With a 3. George, we are tied.
Brooke,
That's 4 by the Lakers. Here's Paul George, 6 points so far. Make it 8.
For his hands, here comes Westbrook. Deflection back into his hands. Open is George. The 3 is in room. It's good. 69-59.
Carolina, that looked like a four-corner stall.
Uh-oh.
And look out.
Uh-oh.
It's Leonard. Gets.
The defense, but we got a long way to go to get to that game.
Early, make Paul George see bodies.
George crosses, sweeps it right back to Larry Nance. It's stick.
George once again, Bogdanovich. Step back 3, splash for Paul George. He is
first place. That's the problem. Dermott trips and it's taken away.
On the drive, kicks it. George open for 3. Money.
Well, we talked about it.
Tatum 8 in the shot clock. That's going to be wide left. Up ahead, George.
Advice from Ty Lue and Chauncey Billups with Lowry. Nice move by Paul George. He's able to.
Paul George leads the way with a dozen for 3. Paul George leads the way with 15 on a perfect.
You got to come help.
George has it slapped away, but gets it back and we're board.
Pistons trim the lead to 10. Paul George, topside gun goes.
Man, he's good.
Second, here's George, guarded by Washington, and George still able.
Paul George off the man's 3. George working against Buddy Hield. And Paul George double figures.
Here's George again.
Been a problem for the Clippers of late. George, catch and shoot 3. Okay.
Then Chris followed suit.
George a 3. Players in the league on and off the floor.
George back in the game, making an entrance to the rim. Oh, and gets the bounce.
Tonight, if you wonder, 25 is the franchise high. George counted on a foul. The Clippers.
That's not allowed him to get off in the game.
Combination. Paul George, he's been off for most of the
lead. I cannot emphasize this enough, how important these next 8.5 minutes are for the Clippers. George for 3.
Okoro on him. George for 3. Oh, my goodness. It's a 5-point game.
Of 7 on the 3-point line. George for 3.
Oh, he knocked it down. Paul George with a dozen.
Hard. Now George gets past Jokic and throws it down.
Pushed them to the limit, whereas now it's not just the physical, but defensive mistakes come in.
veteran team. They've been there, done it. Scout the basketball, one of the best at finishing games with play.
Clippers by 3. George taking over here in the second quarter. And I like
to the traditional center, and then we'll see more of LeBron and at times, of course, AD at that spot. So just expect Dwight for this
game.
Paul George, the step back.
A little closer, he may have seen the contact.
Coming down to the end of the half here. Leonard with 1 left, and he gets the shooter.
Just stop. Down 5. Keegan guarding George. George spinning, layup.
Those were cash in the first 4 games.
George on the pull-up, nails a 3.
Got to get on transition and run. He did it earlier, but you need more of it.
George frees himself up.
There are going to be keys to coming off the bench for both teams.
But you made the point when we were talking at a halftime about this.
Allowing John Wall to dictate what he wanted to do. Not another turnover by the Hornets.
Leather Larceny, lob to Kawhi! Lob!
They're starting 5 on the floor. They've led by as many as
George. Caruso got out on him, and it did not matter. This guy.
His pass too hot for Zubac. Pistons bring it the other way, but here's a steal by George. And a jam.
George will go right at him. Twisting, turning, fading, firing, counted on a foul
by Nick.
Second dunk for Richards. Oh my goodness.
In a few days, do not play again until Tuesday. George another 3. It's good again.
And points off turnovers, they get a lot of points off of opportunities like this.
Going behind the back for Day'Ron Sharpe. Not sure that was the plan. Count it at a.
Not yet the enemy, but it's getting there. George down the lane to the rim. Off the
George, he's top 5 in steals. We saw that when he was a Pacer. He does it.
Bridges brings it back out. George over Bridges. Another.
Down by 5. They're just joining us. Kawhi Leonard on the bench with 2 quick fouls. George launching butter.
Out of it back-to-back. You do not have a lot in the tank.
Looked like they were going a little zone and didn't.
Ankle that fast, or did he just heal?
Oh, what a move.
George goes right by him.
Paul 2 and number 4 teams in the West getting it on here in LA. Paul George bangs it.
Harden. George for 3. It's good. Are shooting 63%. George once again spins away from his defender. Back to Zoo. Look out below.
Harden's hands. Man, George is open for the 3. It's good. I'm not sure they're going to run out there.
George was 7 to shoot for the Clippers. Drives in on Bullock. He goes in.
Hello, nasty. Recognizing we've got to play earlier in the shot clock.
Paul George, kick it out. Leonard got a throw.
The directions, Dosunmu doubles. Caruso on Powell. Cross court, George. But Tim trying to get over, but George hits again. 10.
Clippers lead by 4. Here's George from 3. 4 3-point field goals for the Clippers.
Larry coming out to help. Step back, Paul George, look good out of his hand. Yeah, he likes the shooting background.
It's Jaden Ivey. He hasn't had the ball a lot, but a few times he has. He's been aggressive, and he's putting pressure right into the chest of it.
Doncic is going to take a seat. Irving in. George, fend off. Jumper is pure.
Down the line, oh my goodness! Hello, nasty!
Physical beating, you're saying?
Yes. He's staying in the game with 3 fouls. Paul George again.
Battling inside. Just out-jumped Zubac there.
All 7 of his field goals in the paint. That will count.
Played on 3 teams the last 3 seasons. George, a step back, foul circle jumper. It is good.
12-point Blazer lead. Paul George trying to get it off. Does for 3. Yes, and a whistle.
Paul George, go-to guy. Spin. It's impossible to...
Next level defender that the Clippers don't have. Should be more opportunities to attack.
Splitting defender.
Leonard fakes, gets bumped, continues along. Back up top, Paul George winds up and hits a 3.
Team high. JT Thor's come in for the Hornets. George, a little hesitation. He still hit it down. Matchup. There's man driving. Paul George, potential dagger.
17 a game. He's got 5 early. Banchero had it knocked away. Leonard and George run a 2-man fast break, and it's George laying it in.
Hangs and hits. 17 first-half points for Paul.
Happy for that young man.
George has got a little one-on-one, pulls it back, and buries it. Paul George.
Played while trailing by double figures in the league. George for 3. It's good.
Harden. Swing it. Powell for George. Count it for 3.
Sabonis, and now the Clippers look to push. Westbrook to the rim and lays it in.
Leonard back in on O'Neal. Kick it out. George, hot hand. Yes, sir. It's a 3.
He's signaling to the referees.
George off the pick, into the lane, the Euro step, and
mom. And he's trying to figure out how to move on without his superhero. As George knocks,
feeling it right now. Keeps his dribble, gets by Porter. Third. 5 to shoot. Here's Paul George. 3-pointer is good. And the Clippers come out.
The putback.
George. Saw Porzingis.
You open shoot the basketball, so it's a welcome sight to see guys step in rhythm with confidence.
George. They have not said it's a suspension either.
Right. They count the basket. Yes, George counted and a foul. George fires the 3. It's good.
3-time defensive player of the year. Here's George for 3. Look at Paul George. Leonard sprays it out to the corner for the lead. George got it. Splash.
Bulls is 4 of 14 here in the 3rd quarter, so the defense defense has a say. Get in there. Count it. Going to start the season. He was going to have to sit on the bench. Well, a full healthy run.
Outside look, Harden thinking about it. PGD.
Hornets down 10. Paul George, a step back three.
Paul George on the low.
George, corner three. Big shot. George picked up by 8 as they switch out. George leans back.
Now George takes the three over no Sumo, and finally the Clippers start to get going.
George Leonard on the floor for LA. George, big finish and the foul.
They beat anyone in the league, and their defense is ramped back up, and it's here again tonight.
Feel good three, and why not? Paul George is 5 for 5. It's on 17 baskets. Skip pass. George, step back three by Paul George is in.
First one taken by the Thunder in Oklahoma City in late December. Paul George. I just took some cash. And that's cash right there. Second chance. It's been big on the glass.
With these two teams, Norman Powell for the Clippers and Bobby Portis for the Bucks. George again, stick.
Line 2. George. For 3 over Siakam.
He was coming, nope. George did, and he hits a three.
For the Clippers. This is George, gets to the elbow, that mid-range, elite level shooting.
Rebound taken away by Leonard. Ahead to George. George, alley-oop to Mann.
Man does the rest. Spectacular impact by Terrence Mann.
My ankle is so stiff. I just couldn't imagine going out there, but you warmed it up and you got out there and you played. And that was filthy.
Just sees the game so well, just follows the flow of the game.
Come around, but guarding better. There's George.
Bamba with the closeout. George knocks it down anyway.
12 times to aid the cause. George sidesteps defenders, floats it up and in. Better place when he is in it. We talked about it when we were in San Antonio on Friday as George glides to the rim and lays it in.
Keldon tonight is 0-4 from downtown. Chetty Osmond has matched his season.
Back to Leonard in the corner. Paul George, a good look. Hits it. And the Clippers have their...
Lay it out on the floor. Powell for 3. In and out George with a rebound. He knocks it back out, fires a 3. Why not?
Here's George, already 19 points.
Oh my
goodness! 22!
For everybody involved.
I think Milwaukee is the best team in the Eastern Conference. Paul.
Here come the Clippers the other way. George, pedal to the metal, tied up, finishes with...
George on the advance. Puts Henderson on his hip.
Yeah, he's a 14-year veteran, and he's an adult.
Yes.
Pull-up jump. PG third.
The crack here on Paul George out on the perimeter. Let's see what George does. We got a little push off there. We've seen that.
Payne gets inside. Layup blocked by Zubac. George comes the other way. Here comes Paul George. Gets inside. Layup. Beat backs.
Scoot. Under the screen, chases George to the elbow.
Don't have the experience that the Clippers do. There's a good shot of Will Hardy. Meanwhile, Paul George creates space.
No, and now it's Paul George. He's going to go inside and hit. Timeout Atlanta. They got
For that screen. You can't catch up and get back into the picture.
Paul George, pull-up jumper. Got it.
To grow up, and it's also expedited his growth and development as well, and for the better for him individually, certainly.
9-12 to play. Paul George disappears. Ever since lead cut down to 8. George in attack mode to the rim, a graceful glide, and he leads.
Steve Kerr draws up the most elite option play he has.
Me. George going 2 for 1. The 3. Oh my goodness!
It's not this losing skid.
Paul George makes his move behind the back. Pulls up jumper. It's good. Oh, picked up by Murray. 9 to shoot for George. The 3 is true. I'll tell you what, bottle this.
Up top.
Zoop on Wednesday. Leonard 5 to shoot. Finds an open Paul George for 3. It's good. On the defensive side, he likes the length for it. The offense sputters.
What a luxury
the LA Clippers have with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the wing as defenders.
Both in the top 6.
Game. 18 assists for the Blazers. 72-64 count. Paul George inside. That was two teams. Friday, the world champs. We're here on Saturday night. Off the screen, whirling.
Really good. Had perplexing seasons as George gets inside. Oh, what a move from Paul George.
The screen from Zoo. George, catch and shoot 3. Yes, sir! Join us Sunday afternoon in Minnesota. Paul George curls, catches by 15 or more. Just a win behind the Sacramento Kings. And now George leaking out with Harris to beat. Lays it in. George attacks to the rim and in. Over to George.
George to Zubats. 23 points.
Years at Florida State, the former Seminole. Paul George, he's in very deep. Reverse layup is good for Paul George.
Covington spots an entry. Finds a wide open Paul George for 3.
Game clock at 10. George drives on Isaac. Fading away. The jumper is pure.
Oh my goodness. Morris had the hot hand, but plays catch with Terrence Mann, who drives and dishes to an open George for 3. There it is.
Grabbed by George, turns, 4 to shoot. Crossing over on Simon. Steps back, launches a triple. Paul George, big shot there.
And it has just compounded itself. And now it's at a point where anything they throw up is going in. It's like
to force the turnover. George accelerates, then he stops on a dime and late. After an emotional and tough series against Utah from Friday night to Sunday. Jay Tucker.
And he gets back to Paul George.
It's like watching the final pressure.
Field goal percentage in the league since the beginning of December. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George.
Morris sets the screen. George trying to operate. Steps into a 3. It's good. Here we go. 106. Calendar year. Clippers return home to take on the Miami Heat. George for 3.
The positive attitude that you brought every single day, and not once has
7 in the quarter. Denver 3 for 10. Wraparound pass to Zoo. High percentage shot.
Electric slide 3 doesn't go. Rebounded by George, forcing the action all the way, lays it in.
Desmond Bain. Here comes George. Pull up, jump shot, got it.
The Clippers, there'll be no shot blocking at the rim. George, jumper, got it. Paul George,
similar build. I'm not docile.
George has taken the game over. And here he is at the other end. George, catch and shoot 3. Okay.
Bain drives, sweeping hook off glass. Tice, rebound, great outlet to Paul George, who lays it.
Murray coughs it up. Paul George with authority. Zubats offensive rebound. Paul George for 3. Loose ball. George, he said after the game last night, his body feels very good. Lobs it to Tice up high.
And from close range, good body movement, though, from the Warriors. As Westbrook goes all the way to lay.
Rebounds, he's a big reason, even as a rookie, why the Blazers have the best offensive rebounding percentage.
Marcus Morris with the shot.
How it's done. George with 3 to shoot. Gets to the rim, scoops it up and in.
Damian Lillard on George. He goes to work. He spins twice. He is fouled and 1.
Paul Miller game in that mid-range moves they go to. DeRozan trying to stick with George just enough.
mid-range. Good offense and defense.
Paul George sidestep to 3. Good.
That's tough.
Ends a 9-0 Clippers run. Paul George, quick catch and shoot triple. Doesn't hit any.
In perfect position to get it. Back to Paul, gallops into the lane, sneaks to the hole and scoops and scores on it.
Fine.
Paul George, another 3. Puts it in. Paul George on a mission. Here,
overcooked it. Plumlee on the floor for it, keeps it alive. Here's George slithering, finishing, puts the back.
Come playoff time. And Bird, they were 17-3 in 20 games.
40% shooting for the Clippers inside, forcing it.
Harden has it. Arcing pass down the floor to George with Claxton to beat. Punches it in.
And that is just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. It kind of has been that way the last few games.
The rebound, just passed it and started running back. Didn't even watch.
Westbrook for 3.
As well. Well, you know why he's so smart, right? I mean, he's highly intelligent, like Paul George right there with that jump shot.
Couple of three-point field goals. George and
Draymond Green just coming to help all the time, just not guarding Russell Westbrook.
Kawhi. Harden. Man, again, a wide open look. Same result.
George, who scored some points as well. Little step back 3, and
George ahead of the horn. It goes!
You've got to apply it. You have to put it into practice.
Paul George. George drives into traffic, pulls up, shot's good.
Man had passed over a lot of shots, was doing a lot of stuff, and now another turnover. Here come the Clippers on the power play. George sidesteps defenders to the rim and lays it in.
So important to the success of the Golden State Warriors.
it's the 3rd game back for Payton as Paul George.
More for them in game 1. It'll be Paul George. Sees 3 guys there. Yeah, man throws out of it here. George gets off the shot in time.
Back. The Clippers can lose some steam in the second half.
Gives it back. Paul George with Murray on him. Paul goes to the corner, fakes and fires. Got to hit.
There you go. There you go.
He's inside. George gets downhill right to the rim. Oh my!
Pace up.
George down the lane. Walk out of Booker. George goes to work on Booker, loses the handle, recovers. Oh, he put it in!
What he does every night.
Yeah.
He's showing up on the defensive end of the floor.
Paul George with the 3, got it.
George is alone in the corner. Great closeout by White. Sidestepping defenders and late.
George, step back 3, put it in with
George and Durant draped all over him. A tough contested step back 3.
Ball reversed to the other side of the floor. They play 2-on-2 on one side.
It's off the bench. 7 to shoot for George. Westbrook in the corner for 3. They ranked 29th in the league in three-point percentage. Paul George, a little mid-range shots in the first 6 minutes of the 4th quarter. George. Oh, book it for Paul George.
12 to shoot. George lines it up.
Bottom one right here. Harden picked up by Schroeder. Gives to George. Hesitates for a moment. Oh, it falls anyway. Phoenix has a foul to give. George drives, goes inside for the slam. With 2.
George makes his move around Jones. Euros. Oh, he gets it to go!
Zubac back to George. Puts it in, Paul George.
And then Knicks and Nets for the Clippers. George lets it.
My friend, I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you. I am honored to be a part of this.
George is going to good front by Jose, but it's going to be a fall.
Yeah, he's going to raise over top of him.
You got it.
To try to defend that.
Harden looking for the cutting. George leans in.
March continuing that trend here in April.
The difference is now is like obviously they've done a good job defending.
They say he's a little small. Backdoor cut by Paul George. Nice pass.
Here's George. Working against McCollum. And there's his KZ guarding Paul George. George. Step back. Oh.
Kawhi into the front court. Leonard playing in his 14th game. Paul George.
Harris back out to man. Shot clock at 3. Paul George rattles in
15 points. Paul George with a shot.
Average in the last 9 games. George for 3 now. That one's down.
Shot clock at 5. George straight away. 3 is good.
Pelicans, by the way, the Clippers take the lead for the first time tonight. Can they feather the nest? George for 3. Indeed. The bench. George figured out the last game that Zubac was in foul trouble, and he just got uber aggressive. Paul George.
And Westbrook comes the other way to George, strolls in, walks up, fires a three.
And get a chance to get under some pressure situations. The Paul, I thought he made a quick switch and lost it.
George in the corner for three. Bucket!
None of that's going to matter, though, if they can't get stops on this end.
That's a tough shot, Paul George.
George again, all alone in the corner. This time he gets it there. Second basket. George saunters down the lane.